Welcome, everybody. I am your host, XFL Mike G, and welcome to episode 6 of the UFL Alternative Football Panel. Over here, we got Rick 8-Bit, our producer, Royce, aka Viking Wax Press, and Demarcus Colors joining us on our panel tonight. Demarcus is having difficulty, so he might be jumping in back and forth, guys. And how was your weekend?
Great. Had a good football weekend. Although my picks weren't very good, but we'll get to that.
Oh yeah, everybody across the league had a rough one with all those picks. I managed to scrape out a 2-2, so I was biting my nails all weekend long about that one. Rick, what did you think about this weekend? Rick might be on a glitch here, so I'm going to wait for him to jump back in. Traditionally, what we do here is I will jump out for a few minutes to share on socials, but I'm not going to do that and leave Royce here by himself. And I wanted to say thank you last weekend for filling in for me. I wasn't able to attend, and it's kind of a last-minute deal, but you guys did a great job. I was able to watch it later on. Cool. Rick, are you back on?
I hear you now.
Okay, you can hear us now. So are we live again?
Can you hear me now?
Okay, I can hear you now. We're ready to roll? Okay, so one of the big topics that we talked about this weekend was Diego Pavia. The NFL draft came and went. He was not selected. And that led to some tweeting and some back and forth. Rick, if you want to talk about that, you and Royce will talk about that while I do some sharing.
Sure.
Absolutely. So, as I like to say, Pat McAfee, he had posted a tweet, and the best part was he used AI, and it wasn't the correct UFL logo, but we'll let it slide. And he posted about UFL, and that made Mike Rapoli comment as well, and end up getting him a little guest appearance on his show this past week. So it was a very interesting show. I'll say the least. I feel like there were parts where Pat was hopeful for the UFL, but sometimes it seems like him and his goons were, he was trying to save face for his friends don't think he's cool or something like that. Pat McAfee is known for saying the UXFL and all these other things. So I did like that Rapoli did give him a little bit of a shot, calling him out for saying that. And it was interesting because it went from, like I said, the tweet and then it turned out to him actually appearing, and it was great. I thought it was a good couple minutes. He talked a little about everything, St. John's basketball. He talked about the Kentucky Derby coming up this week. He's got 2 horses running in it. And then also another part I liked was he mentioned a couple of places he might bring teams. They were trying to, mention different things and different areas, but I think he has a good idea. They did mention about attendance, and he mentioned about soccer stadiums, and he brought up a great point where the WNBA, MLS, they didn't start off strong, and they're slowly getting to the level where they are, and he's coming into it with an entrepreneurship and businessman level. So he's really trying to do what he can to make the league successful as quick as possible.
Yeah. I think it was good. Any kind of publicity to me is good publicity right now. So it sure helps getting it in front of all of McAfee's viewers. I'm not a fan just because I don't like the way he kind of is a little bit of a NFL snob. But at the end of his show, he did say, "I'm all in on the NFL or the UFL." So whether he sticks with that or not, I don't know. But at least Rapoli got him to say that, and hopefully that gets other like viewers to be on board and watch a game or two.
Yeah, I agree. And if you look, the ratings for the NFL draft were high, and all this other stuff. And this program does cover football. They have all these NFL insiders, NFL. They made a huge to do about it. So these guys obviously love football. So I think it's a good spot that might be able to catch a couple extra people on it. But I think it definitely has a chance to. It was a good play. I think I think he should have been on sooner instead of mid-season. But I think this is a good step in the right direction.
Agreed. Yeah.
So I don't any other. I'm going to jump to another screen real quick, but that was our hot topics, and they mentioned that about the quarterback. And to me, it was interesting that, and the way media works and flows and everything, you've had that team basically, they were talking about having, he wasn't signed. Then he goes to signing to the Ravens minicamp. And now, as of today, he had a 3-year deal. So there's definitely a lot of different things that may be happening. To me, as a Ravens fan, I'm actually kind of happy they signed a guy of UConn. He had some great numbers too. So who knows? Maybe we see him or this guy in the UFL. We don't know. I think it's going to come down to how, what reps you're getting, stuff like that. It's going to be hard because you're not going to be able to see, you're not going to be able to, with the way the camps are and everything, Lamar's your starting quarterback. There's going to be a backup. So with that, I don't see a team carrying forward, but I could definitely see one of those guys going. And especially if this league wants to expand, maybe potentially be a feeding league, I think it definitely is. It shows a good spot for the league.
I agree, and I think that's the trend is that going that way. And guys like DTR, Matt Corral, and a bunch of others really like. Well, I don't know about Luis Perez might be too old to get a shot at the NFL again, but there's a bunch of guys that are on the bubble of being able to make the NFL squads that I think anymore. And as it goes forward, the UFL is going to become more and more of a viable choice for them to get them looks at the NFL again. So especially if they're kind of gone under the radar for a year and don't seem to be getting any invites, just get your name back out there kind of thing. So I think anybody on the bubble is worth a look and could be a potential star in the UFL.
I think what's interesting too, because you have the camps go from different sizes and everything, the UFL, if it does get further and they want to expand, you can honestly, do you want to be in practice squad or do you want to be getting reps with a team? So I think it all comes down to that. I know Mike's rejoining us, and we just touch base on what McAfee and his show was going with, and we started talking about Diego and would you rather be on the practice squad, just practicing every week, or would you rather be on a team like the UFL, getting reps where you have a chance to maybe go up further instead of being on the practice squad?
Well, I can kind of answer that one. If you're a practice squad player for the entirety of the NFL regular season, you're going to make about 132K, which over a 10-week period, a UFL season, is half the amount of money that you would over the same amount of time. So it's very easy for players. That's why they're having difficulty bringing that level of players down to the UFL for playing time. Some are tempted by it, some aren't. But, you can make 132K just being on the practice squad. Now, they would offering him multi-million. That's too much. Just offer him more than maybe 250K on a prove it deal. I did read the article saying that he had been signed to a multi-year deal. I've not seen official verification from the Ravens on that. And I know you're a Ravens fan. I didn't hear if you had got confirmation on that yet. Rick?
Yeah, he did mention earlier that he saw that they potentially signed to a 3-year deal, but he wasn't 100% positive, but it looks like it. So one thing I will say about the whole thing of paying them more than the average salary in the UFL, I actually personally don't like the fact that they would pay guys to come in, especially mid-season, pay them more than everybody else. I kind of like the structure as is because it means they're hungry. And honestly, the way that the colleges are set up now, some of those guys are going to be making more in college than they will in the UFL or even the NFL on a practice squad. So if they've already made money in college, are they going to need to sign for that practice squad when they can be playing in the UFL? I think that's a question they're going to have to ask and decide, do I want to play or do I want to sit there and just chuck the ball around and practice?
Yeah, it's definitely worth it because, if you're getting paid this money during the off season, you're basically getting paid to kind of just like hang out and continue to work out on your own schedule, as opposed to getting some time on tape. So that's where the difficulty is. That's why I think you saw a lot of the players that were drafted not sign with the teams that they were drafted for in the dispersal draft. So it's an interesting argument right now. I don't think the UFL can afford to pay these players what they deserve. I think at a minimum, 100K, plus the insurance for at least 1 year. But that's a whole nother topic. We don't want to jump into all that. But I think Pavia signing a short-term deal, if he signs tomorrow with 5 games left, he might see 2 or 3 games worth of action. Is that going to be worth it to him? Yeah. So I don't know. It's going to be difficult to see. I think I know for sure he's got the tryout. That's just a tryout. That's not an official offer of a contract. So it'll be interesting to follow that. I think it would be interesting for him to come back next season with a full opportunity to make a chance, making a full season, making the UFL roster and playing the entire season. Okay, but if you guys are ready to move on, I'm ready to move on.
Cool.
All right. This was a game that was very, very, very interesting. Being that you're going to cover both of these guys for us,
let's go.
Royce, what did you think? 45-28, DC over the Stallions.
Well, I thought it was a great thumping by DC, and I kind of knew it was coming. The thing that did kind of shocked me a little bit was the fact that even after like 3 days of practice, or maybe 4, DTR came in and started and performed fairly well for considering what an underdog they were, and actually had some good moments. But overall, DC is just too dominant, too good, and really put the hurt on them. And they had an exceptional game from on the offensive side of the ball, 45 points again. So they're just rolling and clicking, and really it's It's almost like they're running downhill and everybody else is trying to brace themselves and take the hit, so that's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, AJ McCarron made an interesting comment going into the half. He's like, he's trying to rally his guys and say it could have been closer, and referring to some places they could have scored on. But at that point, it could have been a lot worse. There was a goal line, not a goal line stand, but a stand towards the red zone that they were able to stop. Matt McCrane missed a couple of field goals that he normally wouldn't miss. So it could have been a lot worse. Yeah. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm looking it up. I think McCrane did miss. Let's see. He missed one for sure. Yeah, he missed a 60-yarder. So, and he actually missed another one too. So yeah, he missed 2 field goals that game, which is super rare for him. He did hit 6 of 6 extra points though, so that tells you something too. They were scoring like crazy. So, if you're getting your extra point guy out there 6 times in the game, you're going to win the game, even if you miss a couple. So, yeah. That it's kind of frustrating seeing the Stallions defense go from being such a good red zone defense to allowing 45 points. Something's wrong there.
Yeah, and well, to kind of go back a little bit, we're talking about DC. I wanted to talk about Jordan Ta'amu, how he's kind of embraced taking what the defense is giving him and not necessarily going for the home run, how he's actually used that to turn around his game. And he's embraced that. He's embracing being the UFL, being in the UFL, embracing this opportunity. I think he should be the face of the UFL, and they should start writing him a little bit more as far as advertising and things of that nature with some of his highlights. Royce, any thoughts on that, or do you want to talk about the game anymore?
Well, the highlight they should use is that hurdle highlight that he did, because that was awesome, man. He just jumped right over that guy, and almost made the touchdown. It was a great play. So those kind of things, they should be pushing those out there to the public en masse, just everywhere they can be pushing that out there, because it was just fun.
Yeah, definitely. And that's exactly the highlight I was thinking of as I was saying it. Like I said, he's embraced this opportunity. He is, to me, the early favorite for the MVP. Some people aren't ready to give him that crown yet. I think the only thing that's stopping DC is DC. They started out a little bit early in the season, kind of like, we're the champs, we're the champs. And some of those players on that team weren't members of the championship team last season. So they're taking the other team's best shots, and they're kind of walking around like we're the champs, and they took one on the chin. And now it's like, okay, now we're the champs, but haven't won it quite yet. So it's going to be, can they get out of their own way, not make stupid decisions? If they were to run more efficiently than what they've been running now, they could be putting up 50 pieces on people.
Yeah, I think they got surprised at the beginning, but then since then, like we all kind of knew they were going to be the top team coming in, and then week 1 they surprised us all, but then immediately got back to form to right where we thought they would be, and have been at that level ever since. And nobody's been able to really slow them down. So it's just kind of fun to watch. Even if you're not a big DC fan, watch their games and just look at the plays and the quality of that team. Balance, attack on offense, really good defensive plays. So it's fun to watch. And we're getting some echo. I don't know who's. Hopefully that's not on my side. Are you guys getting
I hear it too. Anybody have any other devices going on? We're trying to troubleshoot this live.
Let's see. Okay, I don't think I hear it anymore. Nope. Okay, good deal.
Might have been a technical feedback or glitch or something. Rick, do we have you? Are you still live?
Hello, Rick.
Rick, if you can hear the sound of my voice, we're ready to move on to the next game.
He looks a little frozen to me. Oh wait, we see the next game at least.
All right, there we go. Columbus and Houston. Uh, I actually picked Columbus to lose this game to Houston. Well, he went too far. Talking about Columbus and Houston, and I wasn't on to explain it last week. Um, I felt the way that Tagovailoa was playing him and Deckers, if he was able to play, if they were able to get something consistent going, I thought they had a great opportunity over Columbus, who really seemed to enjoy that last win a little bit too much. And one thing I've noticed in sports, and especially around the playoffs, teams that enjoy that win a little bit too much are kind of hung over, and it becomes a trap game, Rick, not a cheese game, a trap game. Don't take the cheese, you know. And I felt like Houston had an opportunity to do that, and they did that.
Yeah. Yeah, and Columbus made it a game. Like Columbus should have had that game. In all honesty, Columbus really, if they would have not shot themselves in the foot, they would have won that game. But they just did a couple things like that fumble at the end by McClendon. I really like McClendon too, but he's kind of been a little bit Matt Corralish, where he just does one or two things a game that really take away from all the good that he did, and that's frustrating to watch because I really like the guy.
Yeah, and you find out some of these quarterbacks that might be the reason why they haven't ascended to the next level. Lack of consistency. With McClendon, I think personally the ball control issue, whether it's being secured, whether he's in the pocket or not, that might be an issue. And I think I noticed it a week or two ago with Columbus. A lot of their ball carriers, their receivers and running backs, and even the quarterbacks, kind of loose with that football. There's no, covering it up during contact or shifting it to the boundary, that the side of your body that's closest to out of bounds. There's none of that. It's kind of like holding the ball out there, and and as a former coach, it drives me nuts. But yeah, I think that Houston had the opportunity to take that to Columbus, and they did it, and they took advantage of it. Columbus was kind of hung over again. Ginn is showing some of his faults, whether he's able to rise up and become a head coach. I think having Haley there, he needs to rely on him a little bit more. Not this week, but last week, something that we didn't get to talk about. They were debating whether to challenge a specific play, and Haley was like, I challenge it. And as soon as he said I would challenge it, Ginn threw the flag. Didn't hesitate, didn't think about it twice, and just, okay, here's the flag. Rick, are you back with us? There you go.
I will say this. I think if Houston starts relying on that run a little more, that run game can really help them. Especially, their quarterback play is subpar, but I think they got a real talent at running back. He's leading in I want to say 2 or 3 running categories. If they put the ball in his hands in this league, you don't need much. All you got to do is get to at least the 45, and you're good. Especially with the punting rules and the field goal rules. If you give him the ball a little more, don't be afraid. We're at the halfway point. You got 5 games left. You're playing your season basically now. The playoffs start now, because the way this whole league is, everyone's close. You're playing, so go out, run the ball. Your defense was looking good. You got a really good kicker. If they get, I think we're all at the point where if you finally have gotten over your mistakes, you're good. You can go far. But if you're starting to fall and gain more issues, that's the problem. I think Columbus, if they have a chance to really go back to the run game like last week as well, DC is the only game or the team, in my opinion, that's really running down the ball down everyone's throats. If these Columbus, Houston, they have running backs that if they get going, they could be a problem as well, just like DC. But it all depends on how the coordinator, if they want to just air it out or stick to the run game. Look at Columbus too. 2 weeks ago, what was it? 10-minute drive, just running the ball down Dallas's throat. If you keep up with that run game, that could help the Aviators so much.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, and we talked about in San Antonio because they've got one of the backs there in Columbus, John Lovett, a three-headed monster. You've got Zakondre White, Lovett, and help me on that one, Royce. Who's the third guy that I can't think? What's that?
Toa
Toa. How can I forget Toa? If you utilize these guys correctly, you've got an incredible run game. So maybe something on the line is not being consistently executed to open up those run games, because if they're expecting it and they start stacking that line and changing their coverage, that's going to hinder the running game and force you to pass and force you to be in behind the chains, as it were. Any final thoughts on that game before we move on?
No, it was just I think a little disappointing for Columbus fans because they had the game in hand and really should have won it.
Yeah, definitely. But I felt like they were a little bit hungover. They took the cheese. All right. Who was shocked at this game?
I was at the Storm game. I thought the Storm was going to win.
I picked the Storm. I felt like Beck was going to be on top of this, and he was going to get a chance to gloat, take it out on his old team. But St. Louis had other plans. Rick, you want to talk about Orlando and how they kind of pulled this off and what they did to themselves there?
They basically stopped Plummer. I mean, Plummer was successful with his catches, or throws. I mean, but you're only going 10 or 20 yards. It's not going to get you far. And a short passing game is. They've had issues with that in the past. I think they really have to open it more. St. Louis just came in, and I think they knew, and like you said, it's a trap game. And I think St. Louis knew coming in that they had the potential. And I think St. Louis basically, I mean, from what I saw, it was a good back and forth game. They towards the end, that really was the excitement with the 4th and 12 and them getting it and then going for it in 4th and 13. But what they were doing was they were going short passes. I mean, I understand that, but if you got 15 yards to go, this is it. Take shots. So I think Orlando beat themselves. And I think Beck, I'm not going to say Beck was going easy, but I think Beck now, it's like, hey, we lost at home. I'm going into St. Louis next week. I'm going to roll some dice. I'm going to roll some heads.
Yeah, I want to think that Proel watched our show last week when I was saying as long as they can stop the yards after catch, they can win. And they did. They actually, especially the first half, man, they kind of shut them down in the first half. Now, the second half, the Storm kind of made a little bit of a comeback, but it was too little too late. But when you do that to Orlando, that's where their whole first half of the season, that's where they made their yards, was after the catch. So to see them get the stops there was key for the Battlehawks. And then to see them actually perform on the offensive side too, it was like for one half, they clicked together as a team. We haven't really seen that all year with them. So it was great to see the Battlehawks actually put a half together that was cohesive on both sides of the ball. It was really good. I mean, Frost still looks terrible, and they better start Perez. I don't care if they are winning. They still need to start Perez this week, in my opinion, because you can just tell that Frost, every now and then, he'll have an inspired run just to get him somewhere. It's not like he's not a good ball player, but he does make bad decisions on the throws sometimes that I think Perez would be way better at. So to me, that's where I would go.
Yeah, his lack of experience kind of shows in the way he forced the ball. But to me, I just couldn't get over running your 4-minute offense the entire back half of the game, trying to come back. I understand his strategy, and it was intentional. They were intentionally taking it down to about 4 seconds and snapping the ball, trying to keep the ball out of St. Louis's hands but hoping that they couldn't, score an additional touchdown or another field goal to increase the deficit. But to me, that kind of shows a lack of faith in your defense. And I don't think that defense has done anything at that point, maybe because it was early on how the game started. But that strategy was kind of odd, and it felt very, very safe. And maybe his young team, he felt like if we could pull this off, and had he been able to pull it off, it would have been a big ego boost. But it was kind of an all or nothing, do or die. We're going to take this down to the very, very last shot. Just real quickly, your guys' thoughts on that one?
Yeah, felt weird to me. There was like a mismanaged time clock too. And they weren't necessarily matching the urgency that they needed to once it got down to that couple seconds, and that was just weird. It looked odd on the field. So I don't know if they just weren't getting the message that they need to. Then once that clock gets down there and you've got to hike the ball and get in place and get it gone. So I think they need to polish that up a bit if they're going to really make a playoff push.
Yeah, it's like they got stuck in that. We're going to run it down. We're going to run it down. Oh, we need to go. We need to go. That's the danger of doing that. Personally, that's a strategy I do not like. That's a strategy of somebody playing it safe. Maybe he was doing it because it's so early in the season. But I think with that enough time, you give your defense a chance to stop the other team, maybe get a turnover, and go that way with it. But maybe he feel like he didn't have enough time to come back. All right, you guys ready to move on?
Yep.
Absolutely, no one saw this coming. I did not see anybody outside of the Kings, and I don't think any Kings fans were bold enough to pick this one and put it out there and select that one. Who selected the Kings? Anybody? Anybody see that one coming?
Nope.
This was a shocker. Rick, do you want to go on that one? I don't know if he's behind again or he's
to me, I thought it was extremely. I loved how their D showed up. A pick six.
Oh, you went on mute. I think you went on mute.
Okay, I had stepped aside for a second. I don't know if we're having technical issues here.
Okay. I think Rick somehow went on mute. So hopefully.
And Rick probably had a really great point, and now we're going to have to see if he remembers it. Rick, are you ready to go again? Take two.
Yes. No, I think Dallas, and my hands are up here, so I'm not even clicking anything. I think Dallas beat themselves. I think this outcome was not expected. I liked how Louisville's D showed up, and nobody was even talking about how good their defense has been. You have multiple guys in the top 5 categories, or in the top 5 for sacks this whole season for the Kings. I wasn't expecting Rodgers to do much. I'm not going to say he did, but that defense definitely carried them to a point, and it's interesting to see the Renegades. I'm not going to say they're free falling like Tom Petty, but it's starting to get a little interesting. You've lost 2 in a row, and you just gave up Luis Perez. So it's getting very interesting to see everything happening how it is.
Now, I definitely have a take on this, but I'm going to let Royce, if you want to go. Do you have anything on that, Royce?
I think if you're really paying attention, you know that the Kings defense is super solid. You guys have guys like Dantzler, you've got Gill, you've got Xavier Carlton, just tons of good guys. Jaheim Thomas. They've got some of the best guys in the league, really. And they have a bunch of guys that were on the Showboats last year. Showboats had a super solid defense, very well coached defense. And you can see it shining through for the Kings. And that's kind of cool to see guys like Keaton Ellis out there, Eric Garror, making play after play. And they just kind of, I don't know how they surprised Dallas so much by picking off 4 balls and 2 of them were pick sixes. And then they were just able to take over on the ground game for the first time all season and actually run the ball. And Ian Wheeler had 4 TDs. So that came out of nowhere. I mean, nobody thought their run game was going to be anything. But for whatever reason, they just shocked everybody. And the thing they did, they shut down Tyler Vaughn's big time. He only had 1 catch. Now, I don't know if that's because Dallas wasn't going to him or what, but he was not a part of their offense like he should be because he's the best guy on their team, period. And even with Austin Reed on the field, Tyler Vaughn's the most athletic on the field. So they should have given him the ball somehow, some way, a lot more than they did. That's my take.
Now going back to the Kings defense and what they were able to do to Dallas, they were able to force everything quick into the sidelines, throwing these underneath routes. And that is the Kings' bread and butter. Corey Mayfield, who is a former Brahma, falls for that. When you run that comeback and go, he falls for it. We saw that 3 or 4 times every game last season. And the reason why he falls for it is because he jumps on those routes. How could they continue to throw those routes? Even when Greg Ward was in the game, they continued to throw that comeback route, tempting fate. I don't understand. I need to go back and look at maybe the all 22 view of it. Maybe it was the pass rush. I don't know. I didn't hear too much. I didn't hear Cam Dantzler's name too much, but they made Corey Mayfield a star. And to beat Corey Mayfield, all you got to do is run that fake and go, and he's done. I still had a hard time understanding how he was still in the league. He's got the talent, but he falls for it every single time. That was just my thoughts watching that game.
Yeah. All right. So are we going to next week's games, or do we want to show the stamp of approval, the cards? What's next, Rick? I got a couple different things. Okay, there we go. So these are my players of the game for last week. We've got a couple. Jordan Mosley for the Battlehawks was all over that field, shutting down Orlando, especially in the first half, getting pressures on safety blitzes, really wreaking havoc. A couple passes defended. But he was a difference maker, really. He led to basically that yards after catch was a non-issue because of guys like Mosley out there. And I will say Jordan Williams for them too, at the linebacker position, was like super big on the support level. But just sheer numbers-wise, Jordan Mosley got the player of the game for me, and because he shut them down in the first half and really made it a non-issue. They couldn't come back from that deficit. For DC, Jordan Teamu was amazing. 4 TD passes, 200 something yards. 200
and there's that picture of him hurdling again. That needs to be definitely put out there. While you're looking up that Royce, I had put together a little video, and next time we'll get it out. I was trying to see if you wanted to post it for your content. So I'm sorry that didn't get put out. We put a little video together for AFP with the cards.
Yeah, that's cool. I did see, next time would be good. Sorry I missed that one too, but 275 yards for Jordan Teamu. So an amazing game from him. They had really good run support too. Xavier Valade for them is another guy who's backing up Deion Jones. It's Abram Smith, Deion Jones, right? Jones and Smith are the 2 starters, but Xavier Valade is a RB3, but he's really consistent and really giving them a ton of good ground support. So that team is just so well-rounded. Jordan Teamu at the lead, just could not give it to him because he was so good to get him up to really dominate that game. So let's see the next ones. Okay, Marvin Moody. I think he really sealed the deal for the Gamblers. He was kind of put the stop to them when they tried to get anything in the air too. Marvin Moody was there to shut them down. Marvin Moody had a big game, and I'm sorry, I had these stats ready to go. So he had 11 tackles and seven assists. So he was just in on. I mean, that's a big chunk of your plays. Really, about half of their defensive plays he was in on at some point. So that's just crazy good. I give him the player of the game. They didn't have anybody really offensively excel. They had a couple good runs out of Yarns, and but overall, he got the game for me. And then Ian Wheeler, like we talked about earlier, 4 TDs in a game for a running back is insane. And so he got my player of the game there. They had plenty of good defensive guys too, but overall, when a guy gets 4 touchdowns in a game at the running back spot, you can't not give him player of the game. So for me, Ian Wheeler for the Kings got the player of the game for that one.
Yeah, and it'll be good to see if the Kings can continue that ground game. I know this was the first game after a major shakeup on the offensive line, and of course, letting go of a guy who's a favorite around here, Benny Snell. But hopefully, they can be consistent and keep that ground game going.
Yeah. And James Robinson too. They've got him. He did actually pretty well too. He just didn't get the runs at the end zone line, but he did almost the same, almost exact same run game, just not at the end zone. So he's another piece that's actually starting to click. All right.
All right. Now we look ahead to week 7 now, right? Week 7? Is that where we're at?
Nope, week 6.
Week 6. This season is flying by so fast. It's like we waited. Now it's almost done. So this is where we start to get to the good part of the season. Some of these potential playoff matchups, some of them have playoff ramifications. I'll let anybody who wants to go first on that one. Battlehawks at Kings, Thursday night football, Fox Sports 1. Anybody want to take that one? Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, so I like how this has a really good chance to almost become a tradition, because if you look at how Louisville and everything in the area starts off, you have your Derby Saturday. I believe they have another horse race Friday. So this is I got a feeling, you know how the NFL has Thanksgiving games and their kickoff. You're going to start off now with a Thursday night game in Louisville, the day of the Derby. Or the weekend of the Derby. And I think this is a great matchup. You have Battlehawks, who kind of upset the Storm. You have the Kings, who shocked the Renegades. This is now circled on our calendars where it wasn't a couple weeks ago. I have a good feeling, like you said, you have Wheeler with the 4 touchdowns. The Battlehawks, I'll be honest with you, I feel like they took their foot off the gas in the second half. So what Battlehawks team are we going to get? Are we going to get the team that was really striving in the first half, or are we going to get the team who decided to take a nap? I mean, with the way Frost is throwing that D with the Kings, they might pick it like it's a Thanksgiving Day dinner. So they might go have fun. You get close enough, and you're just going to have to pound the ball in. The Kings now, I think, are the shocker. And after that Bean trade where we're all scratching our heads, wondering what's going to happen, I think now they look genius, and we're all thinking, wow, we didn't see that coming.
Agreed. Yeah, I think it is. To me, it's awesome venue. And I almost think every year, if they do Derby Thursday every year, they should make it a Battlehawks Kings matchup, because it's only 4-hour drive away, and let them just battle it out every Derby day. I think it'd be a really cool thing. It is going to be a fun game. And that's another reason why I think they should go with Perez, because I think Frost is just going to get eaten alive with that Kings defense. And I think Perez is going to make better choices if they put him in. So cross my fingers for the Battlehawks fans that they go with Perez. Otherwise, I could see the Kings getting the upset. And is it really an upset? I mean, yes, their record is worse, but the way they rolled last week, they look pretty dominant. So it'll be interesting to watch that one.
Yeah, nothing official about who's starting, but I think the general consensus is it's time for the Spring King to make his debut. Those of us who are fans of the UFL know he adapts very well, very quickly to offenses, and he can take command. He also has a presence. He's a field general, He has a ring. It putting him in there is a no-brainer, especially after the performance that Frost gave us. Rick, do you want to talk about the Kings? You want what are their chances, and how do you think Rodgers is gonna play out for the rest of the season? And was trading Bean the right move?
The more I look back after how they played last game, I definitely feel like trading Bean was a good move, because I don't think anyone had their running game like that pictured. Wheeler, Jameson, they were clicking, and they weren't like that all season. Bean was their leading rusher most of the games. So now with this actually really gives them a shot, and it takes pressure off of Rodgers to go out and be a baller and just throw it down the field. I love Lucky Jackson on that team too. I feel like if this same Kings team shows up on Thursday, watch out, because they got a sneaky way of getting the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think the Kings will make it close and they'll make it interesting. I think they'll start to rally around Rodgers, and we will see if the changes made to the offensive line are going to make a difference. And like I said, can they be consistent? Can that defense do something other than stopping the short intermediate routes and outs to the sideline? Can they stop something else? So it'll be interesting, and I can't wait till we get to the predictions on that. Royce, do you have any final thoughts on Kings and Stallions? I'm sorry, Kings and Battlehawks.
Other than I think it's a game of the week. No, I think it's going to be an awesome game. I do think Battlehawks will pull through as long as they don't let Frost stay in for more than a half. I hate to say it, but I just think they need to be super quick on the trigger if they do start him, because I can see it being a disaster for them if they don't be on a quick choke chain with that guy, So
yeah, right, they should announce something. They should announce something Wednesday.
Hope so.
All right, so we have a Thursday night game and a Friday night game as well. Friday night's been a vibe. Gamblers at Aviators. Who wants to take a stab at this one before I weigh in?
Go for it, Rick. Or no?
Okay, so I'll go ahead and jump in here with my opinion.
Yeah.
It all depends on what Aviators team shows up.
I'm trying to leave some space.
Depends what Aviators team shows up. I mean, if the Aviators, how they were running the ball, are the team showing up, I think they have a. Am I there still?
You're pretty glitchy.
All right, pass me.
All
right. Royce, you ready? Because I'm kind of ready on this one.
Go for it, Mike. Take it away, man.
I was on the fence. I think the Gamblers, like kind of what Rick was saying, it depends on which version of each of these two teams is going to show up. With Columbus, are they going to have that ground game? Is that defense going to be consistently there? I think they have been for the most part. Same with the Gamblers. That defense is colored around, but that offense is hit or miss. So it's going to be, which team do you think is going to be consistently showing up for these teams, Royce?
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is going to come down to the way Columbus runs their offense. Are they going to go through the running backs? If so, I think they'll win. If not, if they start to get too heavy on the passing, I think that the Gamblers' defense is sneaky good because they've got guys like Malik Fisher, Anthony Hines, and I want to say, oh man, Christopher Allen is another guy who's had okay games for them. Just scrolling through real quick. Marvin Moody, that's the guy that, he was one of my player of the games last week. He is so underrated, so good that he can make a difference for them. So I think if those guys are on their game and they're trying to pass, I think they're going to make it difficult for them. So I think Columbus, if they're smart, will stick to that three-headed chimera at the running back and just make it a ground stomping, kind of like they did against Dallas.
Yeah, if they control and limit the opportunities that Gambler team has, because like you said, you never know who's going to show up. If they show up lights out, you want to limit their opportunities. You want to keep them off the field, control the clock, grind it down. I like ground-oriented football. You choose up the clock, and it shows how well your team works as a offensive line and blocking, making sure the receivers are blocking as well, and then relying on your defense. I think you're gonna start seeing that strategy a bit more, and some of these offenses start taking what the defenses are giving them, and the teams that consistently can do that, I think, will have an opportunity to move from like a 1-3 to maybe a fourth spot. Rick, did you want to add to that before we move on?
No, I completely agree with the three-headed monster. If that's running, I think well as well. And I think the roles are going to be reversed this week because everyone showed their hand almost. The way the Aviators played, the way the Gamblers played. So now you play the same thing. So it's like, all right, you're going to know what to look for. So maybe that's why they didn't have the running backs go as crazy or what. We don't know. We're not the offensive coordinators. But now with this being home for them and that stadium has been hopping, I think it's going to be a huge difference maker between an extra edge for Columbus that they didn't have in the last game.
And if you think about it, Columbus lost their first game to Dallas, and then the back-to-back scenario came back and won the second one. I see them kind of doing the same thing this time to Houston, because Houston won the first one. I think Columbus is going to flip it and win the second one if they stick to the ground game.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, and that's one of those games that I can't wait. It's like all these matchups. One of the things I really enjoy about the UFL, it's with 8 teams and 10 weeks, it's so concentrated. Every game means something. And now that some of these potential playoff runs are starting to unfold, it just makes every game that much more important. But speaking of important games, Saturday noon on ABC, Renegades at Defenders. Some people are looking at this as game of the week. I think it definitely has game of the week written on it. I believe the Defenders are a 3-2 overall matchup, including the XFL. If I'm not mistaken on that, I probably should ask. Probably somebody in the comments. I wish they would respond to that one. Guys, your thoughts on Renegades at Defenders before I give you my thoughts on that one. Got to wait for Rick. He's orbiting, and there's a delay.
Yeah. Well, while he's delaying, I'll go ahead and just give my 2 cents real quick, because I think Defenders are going to tear him up. I think that the Renegades have been on a downhill slide ever since game 1, and I think that slide's going to continue against the best team in the league. Sad for them, because it's just, I think if they could somehow steal this game, they could keep their season intact. They're just hitting the wrong team at the wrong time, and it's gonna probably bump them out of the playoffs, unless they can win their last 4 or 5 games or 4 games after this next.
I will say this too.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's interesting if you look at the history of the Renegades, how Luis Perez helped save their season one time, got them into the championship game, and now if you look in retro perspective, they traded.
Yeah, the last part dropped off after Luis Perez traded.
But I think I know where he's going with that, and it is interesting how it comes around, because, and we were talking about Spring King. He's going to make his debut in St. Louis, and how he turned around and beat them in the playoffs. But it's going to be a great game. Part of me is maybe I was looking ahead at the next 3 weeks for these teams. And I think Dallas, even though they've got a tough schedule, I think they're going to win one of these 3 matchups that people may be expecting to lose. And this could potentially be it. I did pick DC, but part of me was still thinking the Renegades, maybe if they get it together. They started out hot, but I don't know if that's a combination of maybe some of the attention that Austin Reed was getting. And when you get attention, other teams that you're going to play, they're like, hey, we're not going to let this guy get his highlights on us. And maybe that's become a focal point. And some of these defenses, now they've got tape on him. That's maybe why the Kings were able to force him into shorter throws. Any thoughts on that, guys?
Yeah, I think you're right. And I do think Dallas is going to make a game of it. I just think defense of the defenders is going to be too strong for a rookie quarterback. And I also think if the Dallas Renegades do win, Rick Neuheisel deserves Coach of the Year after that, because if they can somehow get over that hump, that'll change the course of their whole season. So that'll be interesting. And if he can do it, man, hats off to him.
Yeah, I was expecting the bounce back to be last week after they had gone on that run of 3 games in 11 days. And I have to double check. I saw something on social media where they might have another run coming up of 3 games in 10 days. I'm sorry. So I have to verify that and double check that. But if the Renegades are going to make anything out of this season, it's got to start this weekend. But I did pick the Defenders. I still think the Renegades still have an opportunity. They have the tools. They have the coaching. What are they going to do to turn this around? Rick, go ahead. Anytime, just jump in. I'm going to still keep talking. Just talk over me. Any thoughts on Renegades at Defenders? Nope, nothing. That didn't work.
Honestly, I think DC has a chance to really cement their way for the season. I think the way DC's running that ball, I think the way their offense is clicking, I don't see one single defense stopping them.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, they're just too good.
Yeah, but there's also the law of averages. Even the best team has a bad game. Now, they had that first game against St. Louis, but are they going to run the table and have 9 perfect games after that, including the playoffs or throwing in the playoffs? So they might stumble. And again, that could be one of them cheese games, as Rick likes to say, one of the trap games. But we'll find out. This is also a game that people are looking forward to and potentially being the game of the week. I think it's lost a little bit of its luster. Sunday, 4 p.m. on Fox, Birmingham at Orlando. Anybody can take this away before I jump in, because you know I've got some thoughts on this one.
I'm going to give Rick a chance. Hopefully he can get in there and get some time here.
My feeling is this. I feel like this is another AJ against Beck matchup. I think Beck is kind of really, I'm not going to say mad, but you could tell he was frustrated going into halftime, and they made enough adjustments, but not enough to win. And I think now he's saying, you know what? I'm against AJ. I'm extra motivated. We stunk up the first half. We can't have a slow start, and we're going to go out there and we're going to play how we were. And hopefully Plummer, decides to actually throw the ball cards. They got a definite shot. Because I'm not saying the Stallions are bad, but
the Stallions are bad.
They're okay.
The Stallions coaching staff is bad, but
yes,
I digress. I'll let you guys finish before I jump in on that one.
The Stallions, apart from their coaching staff, are really good, but the coaching staff sucks so bad. Yeah, they just are terrible. So I think that, could this be another shutout by the Storm? That's what I wonder. I mean, it would be funny in a way. I would laugh my head off if they just go in and take another stomping on AJ, because I am not an AJ McCarron fan at coach. I hope he's gone after this year for the Birmingham Stallions fans' sake. but I know that's pretty brutal, but I honestly feel like that was a very poor head coaching assignment for him, just to throw him to the wolves like that. I mean, they weren't really, though. He has such a good team. He should have done something with that team. So all the more reason to put the blame on him. Go ahead.
Okay. So we're going in on AJ just because it's necessary. It's not just hate. It's actual looking at it almost like trying to be unbiased, because I don't think we're any one of us are Stallions haters or fans the other way. But when we started out this season, we talked about, was the talent of the team going to be able to overcome the coaching? And we're finding out, no, it's not. Now, guys like AJ, they know the game. They can break down the offense. They can break down the mechanics. But as a coach, you've got to be a teacher. Can you reach these players and get them to do what you want them to do and explain it in a way that makes sense to them, so they're doing what you want them to do? It's part of your culture, part of your offensive scheme, to move around and adjust things to the skill set of the players and to the talent and the abilities of the players. And I think that AJ didn't have that skill. And I don't think Ginn's got that skill either. Redmond, he does, but he's got some issues as far as inexperience in managing the clock and knowing the UFL rules. But to bring it back to AJ, yeah, that whole staff needs to go. It was a huge culture shock going from Skip Holtz to AJ McCarron and his buddies. I think the sooner the better for that whole organization if they want to maintain any kind of fan base and momentum that they're building there. But that's my take on it.
I'm with you.
Rick, you want to drop anything on that before we move on? All right, the big bad power rankings.
You summed it up perfect. I mean, it really is. It comes down to they have an extremely talented staff, but I hate to say this, if you can't coach, you can't coach, and you can't motivate your guys, it makes it tougher to accumulate wins on the field.
100%. Yep.
Definitely. If you can't be an effective communicator, you can't be a coach. You're not just telling people, do this, do this, do this. You've got to make sure that they understand exactly what you're talking about. All right, moving on to the power rankings. Always the hot topic, the controversial topic, the sore spot, and the ire of some social media content creators. And a reminder again how we accumulate our power rankings. The five of us, myself, XFL, Mike G, Rick, Royce, DeMarcus Colors, and Zon Fox submit a blind list. We don't have any debate on it. We don't talk to each other about this beforehand before we submit it. We submit it in, it's compiled, and voila. Guys, initial thoughts while I look at this. I'm going to let you guys talk on this.
I'll start where I know this is might drive people nuts. It is driving me nuts that the UFL keeps doing their power rankings on X when it's basically standings.
Yeah.
And to me, there's a difference between power rankings and standings, and it's driving me nuts. And I posted it on X today, and it seemed like I'm not the only one who's bugged by it. So at least with us, we're going to call them power rankings. We're not standings.
They're not standings. And again, power rankings are opinions and they are not standings. And that's why I like this panel, because we all submit it blind. We're not having debates. It's not an emotional debate. It's whatever we feel are our own criteria. You know, mine might be different than Royce and be different than Rick's. We might agree on some and have weighed things differently. But that's what I like about this panel, because I think we tend to get it right. Now, the difference between the standings and the power rankings, if you look at it, was St. Louis and Dallas were reversed. I believe they had Dallas at 3 and St. Louis at 4 and that's reversed in the power rankings or vice versa. I can't remember, but that was it. That was the only difference. So I'm gonna digest this here for a second, and I'll let you guys talk about anything. Go ahead.
So these are the week 5 power rankings, meaning that right now this is where they ended up, right, Rick? For this coming week, this
and
is where we
here's week
just ranked
6.
them. Okay, that's what I was hoping to see. Okay, so week 6. Yeah, I was going to say, I hope the Battlehawks kind of moved up because they earned it. They're the only team to beat both DC and Orlando. So I think they've definitely shown that they are deserving of one of the top 3 spots. I can see why Dallas moved down. I can see why the Kings moved up. Yeah, all of that makes sense to me, honestly. Looks good.
I'm curious to
Yeah,
see if Perez gets going. Does St. Louis finally take the top?
Yeah. I hope so. I think, well, boy, it's hard to, even if I would say if DC loses and St. Louis wins, yes, I could see that. But otherwise, if DC keeps winning, I don't see anybody taking them out.
yeah. Just looking at this, I was kind of shocked about St. Louis kind of being so high. I had them ranked a little bit lower. Um, I think they might be getting a little Spring King boost in some people's minds. I don't know if that subconsciously kind of affected people's voting. To me, I still, you are what you are. You are what your record says you are. Um, there is no strength for quality wins. Now there might be for us, and in terms of power rankings, but ultimately you are what your record says you are. Can they potentially be the top 2 team? I think so. It's going to be how well Luis Perez plays, and if he plays in that offense with that defense, good night rest of the league, in my opinion, including DC. That would be a heavyweight matchup. As far as Orlando being where they're at, I'm okay with where they're at, despite they're only having 1 loss. Renegades, they slipped, and deservedly so. They'd been on a slide, and we thought this would be the week that they would be able to rebound. And guys, your thoughts on 4, 5, 6? Let's go all the way 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, because right now they do have playoff implications.
Yeah, I was going to mention that 4, 5, and 6. You have Dallas, you have Louisville, and Houston. Who would have thought a couple weeks ago that's your middle right there. So Dallas is slipping. Louisville looks like that was their best performance. So if they play again like that, I feel like they're going to go up to 4. I feel like if Houston figures out how to actually protect their quarterback and actually, like I said, lean more into that run game, they could definitely go up there. I think this really comes down to how well can Dallas rebound against DC. If they make it an honorable fight, I think they stay where they are. But I think if they get blown out, I think they're dropping to maybe 5, 6, or maybe 7.
Yeah, I liked the mid-season adjustments that Louisville's made because they seem to be on track now. And I think that angle that they took is going to allow them to catch up. If to put it on a field, I guess parallel, they took the right angle, and I think it's going to help. And I can see them making the playoffs at this point. It's just who's going to fall, and that's a tough call because honestly, those top 4, unless Dallas continues their downward trend, they seem to be definitely a playoff worthy team, but are they going to make it there? But I can see Louisville bumping them off.
Yeah, and this is the time of year where all this starts tightening up. Every game needs so much more. I really wish I could see the UFL's official rankings next to ours, and I can't wait to post ours and get people's reactions. But I believe the UFL's ranking is done by one person. I think he got some heat and he stopped posting his name, and it just became the official UFL ranking. It's going to be interesting down the road to see how this changes, who sneaks in that, who starts to get eliminated, because we're starting to get to that point. And Rick was talking about it earlier. This is starting to be the playoffs for some of these lower level teams. Royce, any thoughts on potentially these guys, or Rick sneaking in, one of these teams sneaking into the playoffs from one of these spots now?
For me, I think the only one that does is Louisville. If they're able
Going
to,
with
I think
Louisville.
Yeah. Same. Yeah. Okay.
Going with well, we can't call it the Lou, and I refuse to say Louisville. I can't do it. I'm just going to call them the Kings. It's going to be hard. Which of these teams can be consistent? A lot of these teams have good defenses, but can their offense be consistent enough and be patient enough and not make stupid plays and not have silly penalties? Which of these teams can pull it together to make that run? It's going to be great to watch as we come down the stretch. Well, let's move on to the Week 5 results. It was a terrible week for all of us. I was 2-2. I'm not going to mention anybody else's record unless they want to mention their own record. I'll mention DeMarcus because he was 2-2 as well. As a panel, we were 1-3, and we're 12-8 overall for the season. Anybody else want to talk about their picks?
No. Can I say no?
No. Let the past be.
And I won't even mention my 6-2 last 2 weeks. I won't mention that at all, to catch up and move into second place behind DeMarcus. DeMarcus has been killing it, and I can't wait to look at next week's picks when we get to that. And it's obviously that huge surprise was Houston over Columbus. And of course, St. Louis over Orlando. DeMarcus was the only person to pick that one up. Week 6 picks are in. Of course, Zom is to be determined because we're waiting for his video. Anybody else want to talk about their selection first? Anybody else?
I'll talk about mine. I think that, to me, the game of the week is that top one. I think St. Louis at Louisville. Oh, Rick's got his hand up. Go ahead. Jump in, Rick.
So I'm taking Louisville again. I feel like that they definitely shocked enough with the running game, and I feel like they have a shot, especially the way St. Louis was playing. St. Louis was more of a first half team than a second half, and I feel like that D is going to pick apart Frost enough where they're going to have to put Perez in. But I don't know if Perez is going to have enough reps with St. Louis to really be able to go nuts. So I think Louisville, and I think Louisville, the whole city is popping because of the Derby. So they're going to have an extra energy. They're going to have extra people who probably don't even know about the team into the stadium. I think you're going to have a packed house. I feel like they're going to show the league. Louisville is definitely one of those teams now.
I can see that. I still think overall the Battlehawks have the better team as long as they can limit their turnovers, which means putting Perez in over Frost. I guess I'm kind of counting on that, maybe a little too much, because nobody said anything. I just want it to happen so bad. But yeah, I agree with you, Rick. If Louisville gets that energy going and the hometown crowd behind them, they could upset them pretty easy.
Now I picked and I'm going to start using this because it was kind of a slip by Royce. The Battle Hacks. I picked the Battle Hacks this week over the Kings, but I kind of wanted to pick the Kings. I don't know if it's the Brahma fan in me. I just kind of don't want St. Louis to do well, and I kind of like where the Kings are going. I like their trajectory, and I wanted to pick them, but I just kind of had to play that one safe. Moving on to Houston at Columbus. Everybody picked Columbus, so we can come back to that one. we all picked DC again. We all picked Orlando. So the only outlier was Rick picking the Kings. And I feel like there's some potential for some trap games out there, but I'm not gonna do anything risky this week. I went pretty safe. The only thing, no, I think it went pretty safe this week, and I liked my picks. Guys,
No, I think it's pretty easy pickings this week for me, and I think all those games should pan out. The only one I do question is that first one.
yeah, and we say that, and then we'll end up going 1-3 again.
Yeah, I know. True.
This is the time of year where that kind of stuff happens.
Hey, at least I'll be 2-2 because I'm taking Louisville.
Yeah.
There you go. And don't make me regret picking St. Louis, but I will. I'm probably going to be rooting for the Kings. I like them to get it together. I like their defense and Cam Dantzler and some of the players they have on offense if they can be consistent.
Yeah, I like their wide receiver core with Lucky Jackson and Winstead. That's just fun to watch. So cool. What do we got next? Anything? Or are we done? I guess I should.
So this is a special thing. Royce, I'm just going to let you take it away. You have a special thing coming up this week, and why don't you run with it?
Okay, cool. Yes, I'm working on a video right now of my mid-season top 30 players so far. So I've got everything ready to go. It's probably going to be published out to my YouTube site tomorrow. So be on the watch for it. Subscribe if you haven't, and turn on the notification so you can see when it pops up. But I chose my top 30 mid-season UFL 2026 players, and I'm going to do a video basically on why I chose them and how they're doing so far. And this is just a little glimpse at each of the digital cards I made for those top 30 players. So it's just kind of a fun thing I've been working on over the last week. And honestly, I started putting it together before game 5 and had to switch out quite a few of them because some of them just jumped up to the top and some of them fell off the cliff, like maybe a certain quarterback from Dallas. So, but it should be good. So if you haven't subscribed yet, go take a look at Viking Wax Press on YouTube. That's where that will be.
I still like the design of that card. And some of these cards, it's a little bit difficult because there were so many on the screen. So follow Royce on Facebook and on X, and you can see these cards and watch his YouTube videos. And they, I wish it was actually printed in my hands. And these cards look so good. I might look into that towards the off season about printing some and doing that. But awesome job, Royce. I look forward to that as well. Anything else, guys? Are we wrapping this up here?
Yep, I'm good.
No, that's good.
All right. Well, I am XFL Mike G. You know what? How about we stick around for a few minutes because I didn't get to mention that jersey that Royce has on. Do you want to talk about that jersey, Royce?
Oh, well,
and why
it's
you're wearing
76
it?
to 55 right now. Well, my Blazers are playing Mike's Spurs tonight. If the Blazers don't win, their season's done. And right now it's not like looking like they're going to win. Third quarter, they're down by 20. We'll see. But nobody at all picked the Blazers to be even sniffing the playoffs this year. So I'm happy to have made it this far. Go Blazers. Blazer fan since 76. So always a
Yep. And I'm a diehard Spurs fan. And I've been a Spurs fan since roughly 87, 88. So I remember the days when we were battling, Porter and Drexler and Duckworth, all the way to what we've got going on right now. And we're going to talk basketball on a UFL football podcast. But I'm wearing my Lucky Spurs hat, and that's why I kind of keep looking away because I got the game playing on the background there. But I want to say go Spurs go, and also repping my Brahmas. That's it, guys. Look forward to seeing you again, 9 p.m. Central, Tuesday nights from here on out. I don't think there's any more weird schedules going on. But if there is, follow our socials and stay in touch, guys. We want to hear your comments. We see you on socials. Make comments. Watch the shows. But that's it. I'm good to go until we see you again.
Bye, everybody. Thanks.